Hey guys, so today I thought I'd show you this video. It's all about this guy who was survived a knife attack while the cops stood by and watched. Now, apart from cops being far too busy sometimes to help out in every situation, and will they get there in time? You know, you can dial 111, but you know, if someone's attacking you with a knife, you're going to sit there and wait for the cops. Now, the other thing is, not many people know, but police, constables have no legal responsibility to protect you. Okay? Strange but true. You want to look that up? But it's absolutely true. So now, before I forget, guys, if you you'd help me out, if you haven't already subscribed, to hit that subscribe button. I've made a lot of videos about Damien Ross's self-defense training company, one of the most awesome self-defense practical down-to-earth training self-defense companies and self-defense systems in the world, as far as I'm concerned. Now, why is this? Many reasons. You can do it anywhere, anyhow, online. You can actually, I think now you can pay like $6.99 and get a lesson on your phone. Now, some people say you need what do you call it? Training partners, and that absolutely rubbish. Why don't you need training partner? Because if you have a training partner, you can't basically go full on with a training partner. You can't hit them with full hit. You can't gouge their eyes out. You can't bite them, fully bite them. You can't fully strangle them. So get yourself a either a punching bag or a what they call a Bob Centurion type punching utility that you can use. You can use full force on it. You can fully strangle it, fully hit it, and go full out on it. And that's the difference between self-defense and martial arts. Martial arts, you can't do anything full on. In a real fight, you can't submit. And in a real fight, you're going to do whatever it takes to survive and, you know, get home. Okay, anyway, on with this. So here's another reason why you should look at protecting yourself and you and your family, because the cops might not get there on time, and in law, you know, and in the legal system, there's no law that says they have any responsibility to protect you. So I'll show this video, and hopefully the sound's going to be okay. Might be a bit of I'll leave all the links to the self-defense company's main products, like the Elite training system, which includes 12 modules. And that's actually more than 12 DVDs, because some DVDs are 2, and I think some of them have got 3 DVDs. I might be wrong about that, I can't remember. I actually bought all this 5 years ago. I sort of put it aside for a while, but been sort of into it, and now I'm actually training my son a bit, showing him the ropes. So I'll show you this, and I'll leave the links to the self-defense training system main products below. Cheers. So let's see if this gets going. Okay. So this is the real guy that was attacked by a lunatic. Must have been on drugs or something. But this guy here, Joe Lozizzo, was actually attacking. See, he's sort of still bearing the brunt of it there. About this maniac, Maxim Gelman, February went on a 28-hour stabbing spree, and Joe was in a fight for his life. Now shut up and now obviously it has to be a you know, he didn't record the whole thing obviously, so you know, this will tell us a story. You know, I'll let it run through. It only goes for 5 minutes. Okay, hold on.
If you've ever been on the internet, I mean, you're here right now, you probably wound up in the comments section of at least one article about a mass shooting, some other kind of killing spree, and seen dozens of assholes make comments like,
"Dude, if I was there, I would have totally stopped that guy. I totally know Kung Fu, and I just, like, knock the weapon out of his hand and then break his neck with a spin kick, and then my mom would finally love me."
My name is Joe Lozizzo, and one day in 2011, my morning commute was interrupted by the tail end of a 28-hour-long stabbing spree. The reason that spree ended is because I stopped it, and I learned. The stabber, Maxim Gelman, was already famous across the city. I didn't know any of that, though, because I'd gotten up too early to catch the paper. So when an obviously high person staggered crazily into the train, I just kind of figured morning in New York, you know? That creepy guy, who I'd later learn was Gelman, started banging on the door of the engineer's compartment.
Let me in.
I was sitting right by the door. The only thing separating the engineer and myself was a wall. It turned out there were 2 cops on the other side of the door, lying in wait in case Gelman hopped on this train. I found out later they'd recognized him, but they didn't charge out to stop him. Instead, they asked him a polite question.
"Who are you?"
I'm the police.
"You're not the police."
You'd expect 2 armed cops to, I don't know, maybe do something about a wanted fugitive spree killer that they were on the train specifically to arrest, but they stayed put. So Gelman walked up to me, whipped out an 8-inch knife, and told me,
"You're going to die."
Then he stabbed me. I was in the sort of situation every man thinks about at least twice a day. Suddenly thrust into a life-or-death situation that required me to become a badass. Unfortunately, I had no badass training. But I have watched a lot of MMA, and when he brought back his arm to stab me again, I decided to dive in for a single-leg takedown. It should have looked like this. But in reality, I shot in too high and wound up tackling him by the waist, rather than getting him in the leg. So he stabbed me repeatedly in the skull. The good news for you armchair badasses is that you can have no idea what you're doing but still succeed on dumb luck and balls. I outweigh Gelman by a lot, so he went down despite the power of a knife on his side. So we're both on the ground, I'm on top, and he's still got his stabbing machine in hand. I tried to grab his right hand, which held the knife, with my left, but I missed, and he sliced me good in the thumb. I tried to catch him a second time and failed, so he slashed me again in my left tricep. My third grab was a charm, though. I caught his hand and slammed it into the ground. He dropped the knife. Once I had him pinned and was, dying of blood loss, the cops decided it was safe enough to arrest Gelman. Next thing I remember is a cop tapping me on the shoulder. "You can get up now, we got him." I thought that was being charitable, but at the time I didn't exactly feel argumentative. There was no pain yet, just this warm feeling from the blood gushing out of me. It was like standing in the shower with warm water spraying the top of your head and flowing down the back of your neck. And again, when you'd expect the police to jump to my aid, they didn't. None of them even touched me. The only guy to render aid was another passenger, Alfred Douglas, a.k.a. Napkin Man, because he staunched my bleeding injuries with napkins. I think Napkin Man probably saved my life, but at this point I'd been stabbed roughly all the times a person can be stabbed while remaining conscious. And so I passed out. When I eventually came to in the hospital, it was kind of frustrating to realize that none of the early coverage mentioned me or Napkin Man. The police gave all the credit to the 2 officers who'd been in the subway train with me, only neither of them actually even left the booth until I disarmed Gelman. During the grand jury hearing, one of the cops testified, "I started to come out, I opened the door, but I thought Gelman had a gun, so I closed the door and stayed inside." I can see how in a stressful situation you might mistake a knife for a gun, but also that kind of makes it more infuriating. If you, Mr. Cop A. Policington, thinks this insane, drug-addled murderer has a gun, and he's sitting on a train bound for Times Square, don't you want to stop him at all costs? So yeah, I decided to sue the NYPD. The first case I brought got dropped, so I acted as my own lawyer for the second case and finally made it to a judge. The judge said,
Mr. Lozito's version of the story sounds highly credible, and his version of events rings true.
but I still lost the case. Here's how that was justified in its original legalese.
No direct promises of protection were made to Mr. Lozito, nor were there direct actions taken to protect Mr. Lozito prior to the attack. Therefore, a special duty did not exist.
It turns out there was a major piece of legal precedent in my way. In 2005, the Supreme Court ruled on Castle Rock v. Gonzalez. In that case, a woman sued the Castle Rock PD after they failed to respond when she complained that her estranged husband had violated a protective order and abducted their kids. He eventually murdered them. The Supreme Court ruled in the police department's favor. It turns out it's literally not their job to protect people. So, to the internet badasses who are about to comment on this video and claim they totally nailed the takedown, you should make a note of a few things. First, my insurance had me in and out of the hospital in 2 days. And the hospital didn't give me any AIDS or hepatitis tests after I'd been stabbed with a knife that had stabbed other people. Apparently that's not medically necessary. Second, if you ever get the chance to confront a dangerous, armed madman, don't trust in the police having your back. Don't expect to get the credit. And hope like hell there's another napkin man waiting in the wings to help you.
So there you go, guys. Sad but true. I'll leave links to now the self-defense company actually covers knife defenses, obviously. However, if this guy knew about what the self-defense company teaches, he probably would have ended that situation before it began. I'll just put it like that. Because the self-defense company, basically what the self-defense company says is, if someone gets into your space, you've already broken like law 1, because you don't ever let anybody into your space. That guy obviously came into his space. If Joe just knew that, you know, like if the guy, you know, Joe should have really told him to. It's easy, you know. I'm not saying 20, you know, because 20/20 hindsight is a, you know, thing. But if he had practiced in the self-defense company, then he would have known that, you know, you keep your first thing is you keep you know, make sure there's distance between you and any potential attacker. I think if someone's wielding a knife, you could say that's going to be a potential attacker. Okay, so the first thing he could have done was, you know, obviously told the guy to back off, and it's basically as soon as you know the guy doesn't back off, you hit him. Then that's end of story. It would have been all over. Okay, with also what else that the self-defense company trains. But hopefully that was helpful, guys. What I'm basically saying is, and I've heard this before too, that the police have no legal responsibility to protect you. You can Google that. It's true. I mean, you just saw there the judge and the Supreme Court basically came to the same conclusion. I'll leave the links below for the self-defense company's main packages